Okay, so we've got our menu. We've got the ability to pull it up with the Q or the escape button, and of course we can move around unless the pause menu is open, in which case input is disabled thanks to the checks that we've put. So that looks good. Now we're ready to give these buttons some functionality. So let's go to the HUD folder and open up our pause menu widget. In our pause menu widget, we're going to basically bind functionality to each of these buttons. So we can go ahead and click on any one of them, and you'll see that it's highlighted over here. This is why we named everything the way we did, so that we can know that if we just select something that we can check the name and see that it's the button itself. And what we can do is scroll all the way down on the details panel to the onClicked and click the plus sign, and that will give us a event that will fire when the button is pressed, when it's clicked. So if we go back to the designer and click on the save button, we can scroll all the way down to the onClicked and get an event for that one, and do the same for the load game button, click on clicked, and for the quit button, click on clicked as well. And so we have 4 different events that will be fired off whenever we press those buttons. And so the low-hanging fruit that I'd like to get out of the way right off the bat is the quit button, because that one is actually pretty straightforward. All we have to do is drag off of this and type quit game, and there's a handy quit game node, and basically you just call this and we quit the game. So we can actually test that out right now by hitting play, hitting the Q button, hitting quit, and of course we are out of the game. So that's an easy out for just quickly escaping out of the game with a simple button click. So the next thing we want to do is be able to resume. That's another easy one. And so basically what we're going to do is as soon as we click resume, we want the same functionality to happen as basically when we hit the Q button or the escape button. We're basically going to call the blueprint callable function from our player controller, namely display pause or remove pause menu. It's blueprint callable, so we should be able to call it from the widget. The only thing that we need to do is we need to have a reference to the controller. So if we come up here to resume and we right click and we type get player controller, we can get that node. We get the return value and type cast to, and we'll get main player controller BP. We'll connect that, and now that we have the main player controller BP, we can drag off and we can call functions on it. So we're going to do display, or actually remove pause menu, and that should effectively do the same thing that the escape button would do, as well as the Q button. So go ahead and click save all and just hit play, and we'll hit the Q button and just click on resume, and that essentially has the same effect as hitting the Q button. Now the next 2 things we want to call are save game and load game, and these are basically what we're going to tie to the save game button and load game button. And that was why, if you recall, if we go back into the main.h file, we had made these functions blueprint callable. And of course we've got this set position here, so we're going to need to think about how we're going to use that. But really, if you want, you can call these from the button presses as simply as by calling the blueprint callable functions. Now these functions on the main character, so we have to get the main character first. So we can say get player pawn, and from player pawn we can drag off and cast to main BP. We can then call the save game function, and then off of the load game button we can do the same thing. So we're going to get player pawn, cast to main BP, and after that we simply call load game, and we then pass in set position. And for set position for now, let's just go ahead and click true, and that way we'll be able to test this out. So let's go ahead and save, click save all, and we'll go ahead and hit the play button, and let's go ahead and like pick up a weapon, pick up a potion, and we can just open up the pause menu, click save game, and click resume, and then we can just go and change our position, maybe even pick up a different weapon, something like that. And from there, we can pull up the pause menu and click load game. And there we have our position updated, we have our weapon updated, and all the other saved data that we stored in our save game object. It's all saved and ready to go. So that is how we bind functionality to our buttons, namely our blueprint callable functions that allow us to save the game, quit the game, and resume the game. And so this is all looking pretty good. There's just a couple of details we have to fix, and namely those have to do with saving and loading the game. And if you just do a little bit of play testing, you're going to very quickly run into what those issues are. So the first thing I'm going to point out is if we go ahead and click play and we allow one of the enemies to start hitting us, you'll see that first of all we have a game saved already. We've already saved a game. Now if we allow the enemy to go ahead and kill our character, we'll be all the way down to 0 health. We'll wait for the, and actually we need the animation montage in order to see that death animation. So let's go to main BP and go down to combat montage and just select that animation montage first, compile and save, and click play. And now let's go ahead and let these two enemies kill us, and we'll enter the dead movement status. And then we're going to go ahead and try to reload a game and see what happens. So let's go ahead and hit Q, click load game, and you'll see right off the bat the issue that we have here is our character is still in the dead state, and he's just laying there. He's not, back in our ready idle position. So we have to fix that. So that's one issue that we need to take care of. So let's go ahead and take care of that. So let's go back into the main.cpp, and we're going to go down into the load game function. And as soon as we've loaded up all of our data from the save game object, we're going to want to start setting some values here, such as the movement status and things, because basically, if our movement status is dead and we loaded a game, it's not going to really look very good. So let's go down just under our set position check, and we're going to use set movement status, and we're going to set it to E movement status normal, and that way we should no longer be in the EMS dead status. So that takes care of the status. And just notice a couple of the things that we do in death end. So Control F will search for death end, and here it is. As soon as that animation is finished, we go ahead and get our mesh and we pause animations and we set B no skeleton update to true. And so we need to reset those back as soon as we load the game. So let's go back to load game and go down to where we set our movement status to EMS normal, and we're going to call get mesh and get these two booleans and set them to false, and basically we'll be reset and able to update our skeleton and animate again. So go ahead and enter false in for both of those, compile, and we will go ahead and hit play and give this a test run. In order to make this testing easier, we can go into main BP, and in health we can put our health down to a low level, something like 1, and that way we'll essentially die with a single hit. So we'll go up and allow the enemies to hit us once, and you'll notice the death animation was played a couple times. We're going to take care of that as well, but let's go ahead and hit Q and load game. And you'll see that now we're back into the upright position, and so that takes care of being basically in the dead state. Now notice as soon as we've basically died, we're able to enter the death animation multiple times. So let's take care of that. So if we go into the die function, we're setting our montage to play the die animation, but we need to check to see if we're not dead first. So what we can do is basically, if we're dead, not even do any of this. So we can say if movement status is equal to e movement status EMS dead. If it is dead, we can simply return and no longer have to worry about anything else in the die function. So that should take care of that. So we can come back and test this out once more and allow the enemies to hit us, and they're hitting us multiple times. That's good. And the death animation plays only once. We can hit load game, and it looks like we're resetting and playing the attack animation for some reason. So we're gonna have to fix that. But other than that, basically we've taken care of the issue when it comes to death. Basically, we can load the game, and if we were in the dead position and our animations were paused, we can reset those, and now we're back in our normal state. So we can hit quit. That's a good stopping point for this video. In the next video, we'll take care of some more issues and continue.